we were properly introduced earlier.
I'm terribly sorry. My name's Basil. Oh, Basil to
Pleasure to meet you. I'm Henry Watson of the Notting Hill Watsons.
Fresh meat. What are you in for?
Pay no attention to Simon there. Someone got up on the wrong side of the bench this morning.
Shut up! We're all getting late.
I'm not afraid of you, Simon. You can huff and puff and stamp your feet all you like, but I know, deep down, you don't really mean it.
Not another word, you! Remember what happened last night?
Sorry about him.
Fine. Only, it's terribly difficult being the new man in town. You all have such a rapport. I feel a bit of an interloper coming in like this.
Well, you shouldn't. It's jolly good having a seatmate again. When George died last week, I thought I was going to be stuck on this wall by myself for the entire journey.
That would be difficult. Did you lodge a complaint?
No, of course not. My parents taught me to be a team player in all things.
If it's not too painful, could you tell me how George passed?
Dysentery. You should have seen the blood. He weighed about 7 stone when they hauled his carcass out and dumped it overboard. There was so little left of him, he barely made a splash.
That will be quite enough, Mr. Kegler.
Good morning, Mr. Winthrop.
Please, be seated, gentlemen. How are you settling in, Mr. Tubright?
Oh, very well, Mr. Winthrop. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be on such a grand ship. The accommodations are truly top-notch.
Was your last posting less than ideal?
Oh, to put it mildly. I know it's poor form to grouse, but there was simply no feeling of family aboard the Black Terror.
Who's master of the Terror?
Chap named Carson of Summersby. Not a bad sort at all, really, but just not a good motivator for the men. It seemed as though every day there was some sort of ruckus amongst the crew. Fighting, thievery, not the sort of atmosphere I enjoyed at all.
Carson. William Carson?
Yes, that's the man. Did you know it?
Oh, yes. We went to the academy together. As you say, nice enough chap, but I could imagine he was an ineffective leader. I got the impression his father pulled strings to get him into the academy and most likely got him his post on the Terror as well.
That's a pity. The Terror was a tremendous ship.
No longer, I can assure you. I can't tell you how many splinters I received from the oars. We were told repeatedly that new oars were forthcoming, but in the 10 years I was aboard the Terror, we never saw one.
Hard to believe.
Were you whipped often?
Shut up!
Temper, Mr. Kegler.
Sorry, Mr. Winthrop.
I can tell you Carson could be rather liberal with the lash.
I may say that is the hallmark of a master who is not well favored amongst the crew.
Quite so. I think if there'd been more of a sense of community on board, there'd have been less superfluous aggression on the ship.
We strive to make every journey here a pleasant one aboard the belligerent Badger. I simply will not stand idly by while certain characters are allowed to run riot. Discipline, when agreed on by all parties, is the ideal way to lead. And as long as I am master of this galley, standards will not be lowered.
That's wonderful to hear.
I'm sure we're all quite proud of our work here, aren't we, Mr. Winthrop?
Well said, Mr. Watson.
Is this your first time as master of a galley, Mr. Winthrop?
Oh no, Mr. Winthrop here has been master of the galley since he could walk. You were born to this job, weren't you?
That will be quite enough, Mr. Kegler. Yes, Mr. Tubright. I I have sailed for many years and been master of many galleys. But the Badger is by far the largest ship I've ever worked on. I hope to retire here someday.
Perhaps the captain will give you a cabin, sir.
Perhaps he will, though I would miss the dock down here.
Of course.
It really is quite comfortable, too.
Well said. Well, I should stop bothering you gentlemen and let you get back to work. Good luck, Mr. Tebryden. If there's anything we can do to make your stay here more enjoyable, please do not hesitate to ask.
Oh, you enjoy it all right.
That's it! I've heard quite enough from you today, Mr. Kegler. If you cannot keep a civil tongue in your mouth, I will gladly cut it out for you.
Shut!
Gentlemen.
That's for getting me in Dutch with our master.
Really, Simon, a little self-control wouldn't be that out of line. What sort of example are we setting for our newest edition here?
Oh, don't mind me. I worked with all sorts of different types. Well, once, on a little ship that I left for the Badger, I was benched with a Samoan named Julius. We didn't speak the same language, but I can tell you I learned many interesting profanities from him during the 6 months I was there.
6 months? Is that all? How did you lose your position?
I didn't. The ship struck some rocks off the coast of Corinth. It was a very strict ship. We were all securely chained. The water came pouring in. That was quite a to-do, I can tell you. Poor Julius ripped his right hand clean off to slip through the shackle. Oh, what a day.
I'd imagined it. So you made it to shore, I take it?
Oh, yes, I did. Quite the production now. The crew were all screaming for the master to come and unlock them. You've never heard such self-involvement.
There are so few genuine craftsmen left in our art.
True. Well, not wanting to bother the master, I bided my time until the hull came apart. I washed ashore. With one arm, still chained to the ring, and Julius's leg, or rather his ankle, still chained to my ankle. What a sight I must have been!
What did I say?
Go on, Basil.
Well, a Flemish trader happened by the beach a week later. I was lying there, wedged in some rocks, thinking I was done for.
What luck!
Yes. Well, the crabs had done a decent job with Julius's leg, so it was a simple matter of finding a blacksmith or a key to unlock the shackle.
It's a good thing Corinth is such a modern city.
Yes. Well, as luck would have it, the Flemish trader was in debt to the owner of the Black Terror. So an exchange was made, and I'm ever so grateful that kind trader was able to go on his way without the worry of those loans over his head.
Can you imagine living like that constantly?
Oh, I'd rather be in a prison.
Was there room for promotion on the Terror?
It's funny you should ask that. When I first arrived, it seemed as though there was a great deal of turnover amongst the crew. Every day there'd be new men sitting to my left, to my right. They'd be there one day, and I'd wake up the next morning and they'd be gone. I could only assume their career trajectory had pointed them upward.
Of course.
And yet, as time went by, I began to feel that my work on board the Terror was becoming increasingly automatic. Not very fulfilling. The days stretched into weeks. The weeks into months. The months stretched into years. Until one day I just had to be honest with myself and ask, where is all this going? At one time in my life I thought that as I rose through the ranks I'd quickly become a hortator, or even a master. It became obvious to me that aboard the Black Terror there would be no such opportunities.
Why?
Nepotism. Pure and simple.
Dang bastards.
Agreed, my profane friend. A ship without the opportunity for advancement is not much better than a floating prison. I think you'll like it here on the Badger. Mr. Winthrop is very fair, and everyone below decks knows their place in the scheme of things. I don't think I'd like to be a hawk-tater, though.
Really? Why?
I like sitting and having a bit of window to look out of. I imagine banging on a drum and staring at the backs of our heads would be very boring, I think.
You make a valid point, of course. And yet, a rudder handler, perhaps?
Oh, we a fancy one. What, too good to sit here with the rest of us?
I knew a Welshman named Mansard who handled the port side rudder on the Shark. It was a small, hairy thing if he ever was. One day, when the ship's coming for a come about, the starboard rudder handler collapses.
Obviously not suited to the work.
Precisely! So Mansard does some quick thinking and places himself between both rudders and does the turn by himself.
I'm not familiar with the Shark. How big was she?
Oh, at least 90 feet. Perhaps not as big as the Badger here, but still quite large. At least 100 oarsmen. So the master comes running down the aisle to see poor Mansard there.
No, what happened?
They chained him there, and he spent the rest of the time stretched out like that, like he was being crucified. The captain liked the savings of the ship so much that they declared the starboard position redundant, and Mansard was stuck like that for the rest of his life. He must have looked like an orangutan when he died.
Welsh!
Mr. Tubright!
Yes, Mr. Winthrop.
I realize you are still new here, and I don't wish to seem unsympathetic, but I would greatly appreciate it if you refrain from making any disparaging remarks about the Welsh people or the country of Wales, as our captain is of Welsh ancestry and has very little sense of humor about it.
Of course, Mr. Winthrop, my sincerest apologies. I simply did not think.
As you are new here, I will let it pass without further comment.
Thank you, Mr. Winthrop. I appreciate you setting me straight.
I find that the lash is only effective as a means of last resort. Reason, I say, is the best way to communicate and maintain a civil discourse.
Agreed. I'm terribly sorry. It shall not happen again.
Thank you, Mr. Tubright.
Was there something you wanted, Mr. Winthrop?
Yes. I wanted to inform you, gentlemen, that we're heading into some foul weather. There looks to be rain, wind, and some high seas ahead.
Well, that'll be a nice break from the heat, won't it, fellows?
Right you are. Well, you've been awfully silent. Is everything quite all right?
All right. Is everything all right? You must be bloody joking! I'm trained in this stupid oar for 20 years! 20 years! 20 sodding years of no sunlight, no proper bedding, no decent food, and no toilet facilities. And my wife, what do you think she's been doing for these past 20 years? Pining away from the Arnold, flat in Hollingshead? Or did she go to see her sister's in Fatima? She's a very beautiful woman. No, I think Teddy Bumbridge from up the street was at our door 2 minutes after they took me away. I was with her 5 years for sitting a loaf of bread, yet here I am, still sitting next to the rankest, stupidest, smelliest piece of filth imaginable, and probably will be for the rest of my painful life. All right? Oh yes, bloody well, all right. This is a walk in the park. Do you think we can play shuffleboard this afternoon? Or will my open running soles put the other passengers off? I do hope the squab is fresh for luncheon. I'm ever so tired of the pate and Keglers.
I had no idea you felt that way, Weatherby. Certainly, the length of your sentence should be taken into consideration. We'll talk to the captain right now and get it sorted right out. Come with me, Weatherby.
Thank you, Mr. Winthrop. I feel a bit of a fool now for not having said something earlier.
civilized than other societies. Gentlemen,
Can you believe that?
Nepotism. Again.
How so? Weatherby is Mr. Winthrop's brother-in-law. I'm sure that little outburst got him just the sort of attention he desired.
Probably preparing for something big, right?